Hello, everyone. I am Sophia Melonē, the Debt Demolisher, here for another live stream night as we continue our conversations around student loans and forgiveness and all of the breaking news that I have to share with you all today. I want to invite you guys into the room and first let you know that feel free to share this live stream out, get people inside because we're just getting started, and I know that you guys tend to have a lot of questions, which I love, so feel free to bring those questions on in to the room so that way I can address them. But of course, I want to share a lot of the breaking news that I have with you all related to the public service loan forgiveness as well as the limited waiver. And if we want to have some conversations around the debt relief, I can talk to that too. But mainly this conversation is going to be around public service loan forgiveness and the limited waiver. So I had an opportunity to attend another meeting with the Department of Education this week, and there was some new clarifying information that was shared, which I greatly appreciate. And one of the things that I always say is that I want to make sure that I'm bringing the correct information to you all, and I also want to ensure that I'm bringing it to you in a way that you can be able to execute on it. So we've been coming here every Wednesday and every Sunday night since August the 28th while I go live and just answer questions that you have related to the process. And before we get started, I just want to let you know that this is going to be a process for you. And I want to encourage you as much as I can to remind you to just take it step by step. I don't want you to feel rushed. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I don't want you to feel like there's no answers or you're not getting what you need. Just literally take it step by step and utilize not only the information that I'm sharing here during these live streams, but also the videos that I've been placing inside of the playlist. I have separate playlists that's designated to public service loan forgiveness as well as other topic areas. That way you can kind of take it in bite-sized pieces and apply it. Let me go ahead and see who is in the room today. I would love to see who is in the chat. I want you guys to know again, we're going to be talking about the updates related to the student debt relief and also mainly the public service loan forgiveness. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with the breaking news. Okay, so here's the breaking news. The breaking news is when it comes to public service loan forgiveness, theoretically, there's technically three parts that's related to this. And this is only for those who are in public service. So only for those who are in public service, and I've addressed and announced what that means. You either have to work for federal government, state and local government, you have to work for a 501c3 nonprofit organization, or you have to work for a private nonprofit that is tax exempt that falls into one of the service areas that they provide that's allowable through the Department of Education. So if you are eligible for public service loan forgiveness, there is three elements that's related to this. So we had the regular standard public service loan forgiveness that was created and established, and the program stood up in 2007. And then the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness process had stood up in November of 2020. And so the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness is not the same as the limited waiver. And I know sometimes we were using the terms interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. So the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness is allowing you to be able to qualify for public service loan forgiveness under a different type of repayment plan. So remember when I was talking about PSLF and what the requirements are, you have to be working for a qualified employer, making qualified payments under a qualified repayment plan, and still working with that qualified employer at the time of forgiveness, right? So those were the four indications or the four parts to PSLF. When it comes to the types of repayment plan that you had to be on, it had to be an income-driven repayment plan. It had to be an income-driven repayment plan. And so what the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness process allowed you to be able to be on a different type of repayment plan other than those four that I've mentioned. So what are the different types of repayment plans that will qualify you under the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness? And I want to make sure that I list them accurately and state them accurately. The first one is the graduated repayment plan. So if you are under a graduated repayment plan, you could qualify for PSLF under the temporary expanded PSLF. And the other one is the extended repayment plan. The other one is the consolidated standard repayment plan. And then the last one is the consolidation graduated repayment plan. So those 4 plans will allow you to be qualified under the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. Now, you guys may be wondering, okay, well, do I need to fill out a different form? No. The form is still the same form that I have been pulling up on the videos and I have been showing you guys on the live. And I've also been sharing it inside of the playlist. How to fill out the form is actually one of my pinned videos that you'll see. It's the first pinned video that you'll see on my page. How to fill out the PSLF form. That PSLF form is combined with the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness form plus the employment certifications. So the recent form that's out now, that has been out, is allowing you to be able to certify your employment. And if you feel like you've already met the 120 qualified periods, you check that box indicating that you have inside of the certification portion, the first page of the form. Then you get the section 3s signed by your employer, which is your employer verification, and then you can send it on in. So what was something else that I learned inside of this meeting with the Department of Education? They indicated that even though some of you guys may be experiencing difficulties with getting your forms signed by prior employers, this was the huge news that they broke, because they understand that it can take some time to get your qualifying signatures or get the signatures from those who need to sign off on your forms. Even though they said that you can provide alternative support, which is a W-2 that will cover the period that you worked under and so forth. But they did say that as long as you have one form in, it will be fine, and you can worry about getting the rest in later. So if you feel like you're stuck, I know we still have some time left. We have about 33 business days remaining in order to meet this October 31st deadline to get your form submitted in by. They're basically saying that if you're experiencing a lot of challenges with difficulty, because some of us have employment for so many years. Remember, we can go back as far as 2007. And if that's applicable, if that's hopefully if you work for one employer that entire time, then that will work for your benefit. But of course, if you move from a lot of jobs, but they were all qualifying employers, then you're going to have to fill out a certification form for each of those employers. So the good news is, if you want to just ensure that you get your application form in, you get your certification forms in, just at least get it in for one employer. And they said that you can worry about getting the rest in later. So that was a huge news that I wanted to share with you guys, because I know some people may feel like, oh my gosh, like this is just so overwhelming. I'm not able to get any information back from anybody, or I'm not able to get my form signed. But that is one of the breaking news. So let's see what we have here. I see you guys are in the room. Thank you so much for sharing out the live. Feel free to continue to share out the live and let folks know that we're here and that we're here and that we're here. Okay, so KJ says, I refinanced my Perkins loans. Are they eligible for forgiveness? So KJ, as long as you consolidated your Perkins loan into a direct consolidation loan and you know that you're eligible for public service loan forgiveness, then you should be good to go. So as long as you I'm going to call it consolidation. So as long as you consolidated your Perkins loan into a direct consolidation loan, then you will be good to go. And then the bonus is that you won't lose out on any of those prior payments that you made towards your Perkins loan. Because remember, one of the things that they said about the requirements is that you can receive credit for any periods of repayment even after consolidation for any direct loan, for any FFEL loan, which is your federal family education loan, and any Perkins loan. So those three will allow you to be able to receive that prior credit. So great job. I was a contractor for the state. Am I eligible? Unfortunately, if you were a contractor for a state and local government, then you will not be eligible for public service loan forgiveness because the government was not your employer. So you want to look at who was the issuer of your W-2. So if if you work for a for-profit company, even though they've contracted with the government, that doesn't qualify you for the public service loan forgiveness. However, you could be eligible for the one-time debt relief as long as your loans were federal and as long as you meet the income criteria that they have set for the one-time debt relief. What kind of payment plan do I need to sign up for to be eligible for forgiveness? So the good news is, KJ, so typically under PSLF, you would have to be under one of those income-driven repayment plans or under one of the TEPSLF repayment plans that I just mentioned that were qualifiable. And that is your graduated repayment plan, that is your extended repayment plan, that is your consolidation standard repayment plan, or that is your consolidation graduated repayment plan. Those are the repayment plans that are allowable under the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. But under the limited waiver, because remember the limited waiver is like the gist right now. The limited waiver is allowing so many people to be able to catch up. With the limited waiver, it doesn't matter what repayment plan that you're on. And that is another one that I want to be able to clarify and indicate, because I know that we have been stressing being on an income-driven repayment plan. But specifically, according to the Department of Education, they are saying that past payments under any plan can count. So your prior payments under any plan can count. Any repayment plan, let me be specific. So if you can get your forms in during this period for the limited waiver time, this is going to work to your advantage, even if you've already consolidated. Because if you've consolidated a Perkins, if you consolidated a FFEL, and even if you've consolidated a direct loan prior to, it's still going to be able to count for you. I know some people had some questions related to, oh, well, I recently consolidated my direct loans, and like, how is that going to mess me up? No, because remember, it's going by the underlying loan that was taken out. So you have to remember that the Department of Education has access to all of your loan history, and you can be able to look at all of your loan history as well by logging into your FSAID account. When you log into your FSAID account, you will be able to view your loan summary. When you view your loan summary, you'll be able to drill down and see your loan details. And when you see your loan details, it will tell you the exact amount of the exact type of loan you have. It will also tell you what your current balance is. It will tell you what the interest rates are. It will tell you everything that you need to know about your account as long as you log in side of it. So that's good. If I had a Pell grant in 1986 for myself and parent loans for my child in 2014, will I get $20K? So the question is, if you had it for yourself, this is what they said, as long as you were ever a Pell grant recipient, meaning you were a Pell Grant recipient and you had loans of your own at whatever point in time, they're saying if you were the Pell Grant recipient, you can get up to the 20. So that's what I know. That's what I know. And if anything changes, I will let you know. So if you took out a home equity loan to pay for a child's education, can you get forgiveness? Unfortunately not. So you have to think about it from this perspective. You took out a loan against your home. So a real estate loan is completely different from an education loan. And if you took out a home equity line of credit, the Department of Education is not going to have that in their database. They're not going to have that in their database because the only thing that they have in their database is the financial aid that you were given, as well as any loans that you had taken out, federal loans that you had taken out. So if you borrowed from your home, then unfortunately that's not going to qualify you or benefit you in any way to be able to get forgiveness, because you have to have a loan balance under your FSAID account, which in this case you wouldn't if you took out a home equity loan. If you have federal loans once each year, that qualifies. Do they have to be consolidated? So what you're talking about, I'm assuming you mean more than likely if you're taking out a loan each year, then that means that you're probably still in school, or you are taking out a loan on behalf of somebody else that is still in school. Because if you have multiple loans, and of course that's how the disbursements work, because when you're in school, you have to pay by semester. So you're going to see multiple loan disbursements under your account, because the only time it's going to hit your credit report, or the only time that it's going to show as a disbursement, is when you actually pay for that semester. So when we look at our loan history, you want to pay attention to what kind of loan do you have, because you may not need to consolidate. The only time that you would need to consolidate is if you have one of those loan types where it didn't qualify for PSLF at first, but now under this limited waiver period, it does. Then that's when you want to consolidate to be able to take advantage of it. So you could consolidate any loan that you want. And you don't have to consolidate all of your loans. They've also made that very clear. The Department of Education has made that very clear. You don't have to consolidate all of your loans. I know some people were like jumping and moving and just like, oh, let me just consolidate everything. No, that's why I was encouraging everyone, before you make that decision, before you jump in and consolidate, use the loan simulator. The Department of Education has a loan simulator that is available on their website that you can just play around with. You can just put in your scenarios, put in your actual loan data, and see what will come out of it, because you don't have to consolidate. You don't have to consolidate. You don't have to consolidate all of your loans. I would only focus on the ones that would need to be consolidated in order to get it eligible for public service loan forgiveness. And so some people had some questions around the Parent Plus loans and how that would work. And I know for sure you can consolidate your Parent Plus loans into a direct loan in order for it to be able to be eligible for forgiveness. But any prior payments that you made towards that Parent Plus loan will not carry over the same way that they will for Perkins, or the same way that they will for FFEL. So the only way that it will really benefit you for Parent Plus purposes is if you've already had like direct loans, or even if you had FFEL loans, or even if you had Perkins loans that you were already paying on. And then now you can consolidate all of those plus your Parent Plus loan into this direct consolidation loan, and whatever the oldest payment or the oldest account that you had. So let's say, for instance, you had your first loan that you took out was the FFEL loan, just saying hypothetically. First one was the FFEL loan. That one was a $30,000 loan. So you got $30,000 balance here. And then you have a Perkins loan that has $5,000. And then 10 years later, you're still paying on, you still have been making payments on these loans that you have. But then 10 years later, you have a child, or your child is entering college, and then you take out a Parent Plus loan for your child. So 10 years later, you now have a balance on the Parent Plus loan side. What you can do is, after your child gets out of school, or whatever the case may be, an additional 4 years, you can now consolidate all of those into a direct loan. Now, like during this limited time waiver period, you can consolidate all of those into the direct consolidation loan. And because the Perkins loan and because the FFEL loan, those prior periods will count towards the 120 that you need, it's automatically going to catch you up, if that makes sense. So if it has already been, oh, well, if I said 10 years later, that will get us to the 120. But 10 years later, we're at the 120 now. So let's say you go ahead and you consolidate. You've been with a qualified employer for those times where you made your qualifying period, you made your qualifying payments on the Perkins loan or the FFEL loan. Then if you consolidate that Parent Plus loan in there, you have to remember that your entire consolidated direct loan balance will be forgiven. Will be forgiven. Is there anything about what I just said that is not clear? Please let me know. Please let me know. Okay, I know I don't qualify for PSLF, so what do I do then? So if you don't qualify for public service loan forgiveness, then your only other option would be to see if you would is to apply for the one-time debt relief. So if you know that you don't work for a qualifying employer, you know that there's no way that you're going to be able to be eligible for public service loan forgiveness, I would just focus my efforts on submitting my application for the one-time debt relief once that stands up. So remember, the application for the one-time debt relief, and this is the one that President Joe Biden recently announced on August the 24th. That application process has not stood up, but it will in early October. So we're literally weeks away, y'all. We are weeks away from this application process that is going to be stood up. But once it's stood up, then you can definitely apply. As long as you have federal loans, like you said, and you meet the income criteria, then I would go that route. Thank you guys so much for sharing out the live stream. Also, thank you so much for the follows. I appreciate that as well. Where is the form? So Diana, if you're talking about the public service loan forgiveness form, and that's if you work for a qualified employer, so those who are in public service or who has worked for a nonprofit, you have the ability to access the form by going to studentaid.gov/PSLF. The Department of Education has strongly encouraged that folks utilize the public service loan forgiveness help tool. And you can find the help tool at the same website that I just shared, studentaid.gov/PSLF. When you go there, it's going to prompt you to log into your federal student aid account. So if you do not have a federal student aid account, you can create one, because if you have federal loans, then your data is already there. It's just that you have not created a profile for you to be able to go in and access that data. So I want to encourage you to log into your federal student aid account if you already have one. And if you feel like you don't have one, go ahead and create it. You can go to studentaid.gov, same spot, public service PSLF, and click login. And of course, if you can't log in, you'll create an account right there in an instance. It'll take you about 5 minutes to do it. But you can access the form there. For the one-time debt relief, like I just said, that form is not available yet. But when it does become available, it will be accessible inside of your federal student aid account. So this is another reason why you need to make sure that you have your account set up. And then you could also be notified as soon as it goes live, because the Department of Education is encouraging people to log in to their federal student aid account, even create their federal student aid account, and then make sure that they have the correct contact number in there if they want to be able to receive text messages, and then also have their correct email address in there so that way they can be able to share communications with you regarding the one-time debt relief once it's announced. Any suggestions for master's degree forgiveness as a teacher? So I need to get my teacher series together. So I have been getting a lot of questions around the teacher forgiveness, and I spoke somewhat on it high level. And the only reason why I've been emphasizing and really stressing the public service loan forgiveness is because the limited waiver is set to expire very soon. So I just want to be able to encourage people as much as possible to do whatever it is that they need to do to become qualifiable for the one-time debt relief. But when it comes to teachers, and this is something that's a very powerful thing, if you aren't aware of the teacher forgiveness, that's something that you should be able to look into as well. So the Department of Education has more than one type of forgiveness program. We all know that public service loan forgiveness is one that is very popular. And if you are a teacher, depending on who your employer is, because if you work for the state or if you work for a nonprofit organization, that's a 501c3, depending on how long you've been there, you could essentially qualify for PSLF as well and the limited time waiver. But there's also teacher forgiveness, where the Department of Education will forgive up to $17,500 of your student loans as long as you meet a certain criteria. And I think theirs is a little bit longer. It's like 25 years. So it's a lot longer than the public service loan, which is 10 years and 120 qualified payments. But the bonus is you can work towards both in tandem. So what do I mean by this? If you're eligible, or if you're already under the teacher forgiveness and you're working towards teacher forgiveness, you could use those same payment counts from your teacher forgiveness on towards the count for your public service loan forgiveness. So if that's something that you have not looked into, I want to highly encourage you to go to studentaid.gov and look for teacher forgiveness. If you have an FSA ID account, you can access all of the forgiveness options inside of your federal student aid account. So as long as you go there, you go under manager accounts, you'll see all of the different types of options. You're going to see PSLF, you're going to see borrower's defense, you're going to see every single type of option that they have for forgiveness, for discharge, and cancellation. And you will be able to access those forms and apply and see where your statuses are inside of your account. Okay. What are your qualifications? What do you mean by qualifications? What are my qualifications in terms of me sharing this information, or what are the qualifications to qualify for public service loan forgiveness? Let me know which one you're referring to, because I can sure enough run off my resume if you need me to. Okay. Any tips of Mohila personal loans? Any tips? If you have personal loans, so if your loans are not federal, I have a playlist that's on my page as well that talks about some of the options for private loans. Some of the options for private loans. It's not many, but I know that there has been some questions from folks asking, well, I know that I won't qualify for any, I don't have any federal loans. I only have private loans. What do I do? So I have some options there. Again, it's not many, but when it comes to personal loans or anything that's not student loan related, that's federal, there's not really much I can do for you outside of sharing what will be available in that playlist. What are the requirements for, it just scrolled down. What are the requirements for PSLF waiver versus what it was before? Yes, absolutely. So under the PSLF waiver, under the PSLF regular, it was very strict. So you had to be working with a qualified employer, number one. You also had to be making qualified payments. And let me talk about what a qualified payment is. A qualified payment is you had to make the full amount due, whatever your monthly student loan payment was for that particular month. It had to be paid in full, and it had to be made on time. So what does that mean? It had to be made by the due date, or I think within like 15 days, no later than 15 days or something like that. It had to be paid by. And another thing that would allow it to be a qualified payment. The other piece was that it had to be on a qualified repayment plan. So that was the IDRs that I was talking about. The payee, the repay, the income base, or the income contingent. Those are the only 4 repayment plans that were allowable under the original public service loan forgiveness. The other piece was you had to be able to receive the forgiveness. You had to be working with the qualified employer still at the time that you received the forgiveness. So what was something that would hinder a lot of people is they would get close to that 10-year, or they will be like at 9 years, or maybe they will be at 100 payments or something along those lines, and they end up changing jobs. And the minute you change jobs and you're no longer with a qualified employer, even though you've gotten to that space where you might have actually gotten to the 120, but the moment that you leave that employer and they process your application and you're no longer there, you have to still be with that qualified employer in order to receive the forgiveness. Under the limited waiver, a lot of those restrictions are lifting. Under the limited waiver, you do not have to still be working for the qualified employer in order to receive the forgiveness. And this is why so many people are getting $165,000 in forgiven, $420,000 forgiven, $95,000 forgiven, because they were making those qualified payments and they had these periods, which I'm getting ready to explain, which is allowing those added counts to be able to accrue for people in the space now. It is helping so many get that relief while they may not even be working for a qualified employer anymore. So that's one piece. The other piece is you don't have to have made those full payments. So if you were in an instance where you had maybe some income shortage, or you weren't able to make your payment for the full amount, you might have made a couple payments here and there, or it wasn't the full amount. And not only that, it was late. Now they're saying any past payments will count. It doesn't have to be on time. It doesn't have to be under a specific repayment plan. Any kind of payment will count. And that takes me to the third one. Any payments under the limited waiver, regardless of the repayment plan that you're under, will count. It will count. It will count. And then the fourth one, which is the last piece, is the loan type. So the public service loan forgiveness is a direct loan program benefit only. So you have to have a direct loan in order to qualify or to receive the forgiveness. But under this limited waiver, they are allowing exceptions for very specific loan types to be able to be consolidated and be able to be included as a direct consolidation loan so that it can be forgiven. So that it can be forgiven. So this is the bonus, the bonus, the bonus, the bonus, the bonus. You can get credit for so many periods that might not have been allowable before. And that's the blessing. And I think too with the Parent Plus loans, again, I just gave the example with the Parent Plus loans. You can consolidate as long as you can consolidate it. But the only way that it'll really benefit you is if you have other loans that you've already had, like prior payments periods that will count. And in that way, once you consolidate it, your whole balance can be forgiven. Will they split the $10K into monthly payments? No, they will not. So I did a demo video, and I'm not going to try to take it off and show you because the last time I did this, I think my live cut out. But you can see this here on my wall. This was a demo. I mapped this out for you guys, and I did a video on the page to show you how the one-time debt relief is going to be broken out. So it's going to literally be one payment based on your loan balance. So depending on your loan balance and depending on what you qualify for, they're going to break it out in a specific order by addressing any default federal student loans that you have first. And then any non-defaulted loans will be then apply any balances with non-defaulted direct or FFEL loan balances will be applied in the order of highest interest. So it's going to go from highest interest to lowest interest for your non-defaulted direct loan or FFEL loan. And then if anything else is left, then that will go to your Perkins loan. So it just depends on what you have, what your loan types are, and it'll be up to. So again, it'll be up to. So if you only have a $9,000 balance, don't expect to get $1,000 difference back if you're eligible for that 10K relief, because that's not what they're going to be doing. They will not split the 10K monthly. Okay, yeah, I'm good. Okay, Elena, go ahead and answer these questions, honey child. I'm consolidated with direct. Would I need to file any papers to qualify or just do nothing? So again, I don't want you guys to get confused between PSLF and the one-time debt relief. So you want to ask yourself the question, number one, do I work for a qualified employer? Number one, do I work for a qualified employer? If you do not work for a qualified employer, public service loan forgiveness or the PSLF limited waiver does not apply to you. If you have federal student loans and you meet the income criteria that they reference in terms of your tax filing status between 2021 or 2022, if you're single or if you're married filing separately, you have to make less than $150,000. If you are married filing jointly or head of household, you have to make less than $250,000. So, or $125,000, excuse me, for single and married filing separately. So it's $125,000 versus $250,000, depending on what your tax filing status is. If you fall under that, and then you want to ask yourself, did I receive a Perkins loan or not? I'm sorry, did I receive a Pell grant or not? If you received a Pell grant, then you know that you're eligible for up to $20,000. If you did not receive a Pell grant, then you're eligible for up to $10,000. So don't get them confused, because the one-time debt relief and public service loan forgiveness are two separate benefits right now. They're completely independent of each other, and you can be qualified for both as long as you meet the criteria for both. So just be mindful of that. I don't want you guys to get confused. So will they pay me back for paid off Pell grant? No. Anyone who know how to apply, is this for education work only? Again, for the one-time debt relief, the application is not available yet. I did a video to explain this. It's also pinned on my page as well. Will not be available until early October. Anything that applies to graduate school loans, in terms of debt relief, I mean, the only thing that I can think of is this one-time debt relief. Again, it's based on your income, and if you meet the criteria, not necessarily your loan type or the types of loans that you have. What's the website? I need to see if I qualify. Okay, so here are the websites. So if you want to see if you qualify for the one-time debt relief, you're going to go to studentaid.gov/debt relief. When you get to that page, it's going to be a whole paragraph, a whole page full of notes that's going to break down who qualifies, how you know you qualify, and then it's also going to take you to a detailed announcement page. There's going to be a link in the first paragraph that will take you, or the first section rather, that'll take you to the announcement page. The announcement page will really break down how the one-time debt relief is going to work, and it's also going to show you and explain what this breakdown was that I just showed you guys, and how they're actually going to apply the payment. So the information is there. It's available for you all to see, for you all to look at. Just know that if you read through the details, assess your situation, you'll be able to see if you qualify or not. Okay? I qualify for Pslf. Is it smart to wait for the loan forgiveness? Again, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. Public service loan forgiveness is independent of the one-time debt relief. They are not going to hinder or conflict with one another. So if you know that you qualify for public service loan forgiveness, I will be focusing on getting my forms in during this limited time waiver. I will be focusing on getting my forms in under this limited time waiver. And let me just say this as well, because I know it feels like it's a rush because people are trying to get their stuff in, and there's been a lot of complaints. Like, people are complaining and like, oh, the process is broken. And I'm like, well, this is a benefit to you, first of all. So people complaining and saying all this kind of stuff, I'm just like, just do your part. And if you feel like something is wrong, there's always a way to challenge it. There's always a way to challenge it. So I want to just suggest to you to go ahead and get your forms in. And if it starts to feel convoluted, or if it starts to feel overwhelming, just do your best to just do your part. The Department of Education has made it very clear that as long as you get your form in, as long as you do your part, they're going to do theirs. Now, I know some people may say, oh, well, there's been some miscommunication. I've been denied, and, I've gotten letters back and it's inaccurate. Well, that's what the reconsideration process is for. So if you feel like something is wrong, or you feel like you've gotten a letter back and they denied you, another thing that they also stressed was to apply again. So if you've gotten a denial letter, they said, send it in again. Send it in again. And then you could also go through the reconsideration process, which was what I was just sharing. And I did a video on where you could go to find the reconsideration form. I think the last time I tried to look for it, the website was down, because everybody's just been flooding studentaid.gov right now. So the website was down, but I'm pretty sure it's working now, because I hadn't checked in a couple of days. Is there a fraudulent school list? How do we get forgiveness for that? So anything that may be like fraudulent related or misleading, that's technically considered a discharge. So they do have discharge programs that are available for federal loans as well. So if you go to, they have borrower's defense, they have so many others. They have several types of options for discharges, but specifically, if you felt like you went to a school that has misled you in any way, you felt like they were involved in any mispractices of maybe fraudulent activity, overcharging, or making false promises, you could definitely go the borrower's defense route. They already have a listing of the schools that have been where the borrower's defense group has determined that these schools have involved themselves in those types of activities that would qualify folks for the discharge, the borrower's defense discharge. So they have several schools. So if you go to studentaid.gov/borrowers-defense, you will be able to see the listing of all of the schools. I also did a video. I have a playlist for borrower's defense as well, to let you guys know about the discharge options that are available for those instances. And even if the school that you went to is not there, that doesn't mean that you can't submit an application so that it can be investigated. So when you submit an application for borrower's defense, that's of course you submitting a claim, and you want the department to investigate that. And so essentially they'll get around to it at some point, I'm sure. And for those who where they deemed that school was found as operating in these fraudulent activities or misleading and stuff, then the discharge is supposed to happen automatically. Now, I'm not sure how long it'll take, but it is supposed to happen automatically. But if it doesn't, I would definitely do an application just to make sure that it gets discharged. FFELP, direct consolidation, do prior payment counts towards the one-time forgiveness. So when you say FFELP, let's first define which group of FFELP you have. So on Sunday, I had a whole live stream that discussed the FFELPs because some people kept asking, will I have some FFEL loans that are privately held or commercially held? And I have some that are direct. How do I know? You need to find out, number one, which type of FFEL loan you have. Is it commercially held or is it not? So if it's not in your studentaid.gov account and it's not listed as federal, then that means that it's not a federal FFEL. That means it's not managed by the Department of Education. Let me say it that way. It's not managed by the Department of Education. So you would first want to check that. But FFEL loans, according to the Department of Education's website, FFEL, Federal Family Education Loans, are eligible for public service loan forgiveness if you consolidate it into a direct consolidation loan for public service loan forgiveness purposes. So for the one-time relief, if you're asking about the one-time relief, again, it has to be federally managed. So the only way that your FFELP, if it's privately held, will be able to receive that relief is if it was in default. Because remember I said in the beginning when I was kind of explaining the breakout, when the 10K or the 20K, whichever one you qualify for, once the payment, how the payment is going to be distributed is going to be based on defaulted loans first. So they are going to first pay the defaulted loans that are managed by the Department of Education. And then they're going to address the defaulted FFEL loans that are commercially held. So they address defaults first. So if you're not in default, then I'm pretty sure that you'll be okay. And then we'll go down to the non-defaulted direct or FFEL that are managed by the Department of Education. Then that's how the payment is going to be broken out. So yes, as long as your FFELP is managed by the department, more than likely it will get addressed under the one-time debt relief. Okie doke. All right. Miss Girl says, got it. Thanks. You're so welcome. Do we have to pay taxes for the Biden taxes? Nope. So none of the forgivenesses are taxable. So you have to remember that under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, there is a clause that I think I'm just going to quote unquote clause. Don't quote me on it, but there's practically something inside of that law that states that student loan forgiveness is not taxable for the recipients. Now, again, we know the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is in effect through 2025. So we got a couple more years before that kind of goes away. But y'all get what I'm saying. But to answer your question, for federal purposes, it is not taxable. However, it could be taxable for state reasons, and it just depends on which state you live in. I believe it's about 5 or 6 states that may tax the forgiveness, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. So I'll have to just double check because, there's over 50 states, okay? There's a lot of states in the United States. And I know the state that I live in, it's not taxable. So it just depends on where you are. Okie doke. Okay, you're so welcome, KJ. You're so welcome. All right. When are you going to drop info on the teachers? It's coming, okay? I'm in a busy season. I'm in a busy period. My focus is really on getting you guys this public service loan forgiveness information. But I promise the teachers, I'm going to do a whole teacher series just for my teachers, because first of all, teachers, you all deserve it, because you all do so much to pour into the children's lives of who you're teaching. I know that my life has been touched in tremendous ways by the teachers that have been in my life. So I know that you guys deserve and you need this information. So I definitely will have this coming. Come on. Teacher loan forgiveness is 5. Okay, I don't know what that means, Elizabeth, but thank you for commenting. Is there forgiveness for fraudulent school? Okay, I just said that. You said DeVry is on the list. Westwood is definitely on the list. ITT is on the list. There's a couple of people that are on the list for the discharge. So Mel Paris, I just answered that question about the discharge. Feel free to check out my playlist on borrowers defense discharge, or you can just go to studentaid.gov/borrowers defense, and you should be able to see the schools listed there. Should I wait to consolidate until more information comes out since I don't qualify for PSLF? So if you don't qualify for PSLF, you don't have to consolidate at all. So my question to you would be, well, why would you be consolidating, KJ? So why would you be consolidating if you don't qualify for public service loan forgiveness? The only reason why you would need to consolidate is if you are trying to get a loan type that does not qualify, that did not qualify for public service loan forgiveness, to be able to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. But if you're just concerned with the one-time debt relief, then you don't have to consolidate. And if you want to consolidate, it could be a strategic move. You could use the loan simulator to see if it even makes sense for you to consolidate, because that's really the key and the driver. Because if you consolidate, you got to know that your interest rate is going to change. If you consolidate, you have to realize that any unpaid interest on the loans that you have will now be capitalized. So then that means your loan balance, your principal balance, is going to go up. So you have to think, you have a lot of things to take into consideration when it comes to loan consolidation. And so for me, I know the only way that I would consolidate anything is if I knew that it was going to get me a relief at the end of the day. And if it's not, then why? So just look at it from that perspective and just understand the stipulations that come along with consolidation. So, will you save this live? I missed my question answered. Ladora, I didn't see a question from you. I'm really good with names. I remember names, and I don't remember seeing your name. So can you ask your question again, and I can answer it again for you? Okay. Hello, just joining in. Will this be Q&A recorded or somewhere where we can see the breakdown? So this is being recorded. Unfortunately, once the live ends, it doesn't save. So what I do try to do, and because the lives are so long, I'm usually on here for like 2 hours, I try to chop it up and put pieces out for you all that I find like very helpful. But it's too long. Like even if I tried to re-upload it, it's too long. It won't save to TikTok. All right. And if you're asking about this breakdown, it's already on my page. It's already on there. I did a whole demo, 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes long. Walked you all the way through it. If I'm in default, will the $10,000 forgiveness be applied? So yes, Susie, I just answered that. Defaulted loans will be addressed first. Tax year 20 or 21, yes, and more than likely it'll be based on the most recent one that you filed. So if you filed 2021, then it'll be based on 2021. If you didn't file 2021 yet, because we know that folks still don't necessarily have had to file 2021 yet, because if you filed an extension, most people file an extension in April so that way they can get the extra 6 months, and their taxes won't be due until the middle of October. So that's why they're basing it off of those 2 years. And then plus, because of COVID happened in 20 and 20. That's where the financial impact kind of really happened. But yeah, so more than likely it'll be based on your most recently filed tax returns. Thank you so much for sharing all this information. You are so welcome, KJ. Thank you so much for being here listening. All right. Will my daughter qualify even if she's still in college? She has a Pell grant with student loans. So For your daughter, again, it would depend on the income. So if she's still in school, you would have to see how they're going to account her income, because it's based on your income. So I would wait when the application comes out, put it in, and see what happens. You are God sent. Oh, thank you so much, you guys. I'm just trying to be a conduit to help and serve you all. I have student loans in default and Pell grant. Do I need to make payment plan to qualify? No. So they said it doesn't matter what your payments, this is for the one-time debt relief. It doesn't matter what your payment status is. It doesn't matter the type of loan you have. As long as you meet the income criteria. As long as you meet the income criteria, you have federal loans, you can qualify for the one-time debt relief. And it will be applied in the same way I just shared in that breakdown. What if I haven't made all 120 payments yet? So if you haven't made all 120 payments yet and you qualify for public service loan forgiveness, you can still continue to work towards that. One of the things that they mentioned too is, and I don't know if you've been checking your profile, because you can monitor if you already submitted your PSLF form, Elizabeth, then you know that you should already have some counts. And if you log into your profile, you'll be able to see the status of your information. You'll be able to see if you had any ineligible payments, which payments were eligible. You'll be able to see all of that. And so if you've already been submitting your forms, then you should see at least something there. When you monitor that, we have to think about all of those periods of forbearance is now going to be able to count. They're saying that it's going to count automatically, especially if you already have a PSLF form on file. If you already have a PSLF form on file, a lot of those stipulations under the limited waiver is going to be able to work for you. So any forbearances that were 12 months or longer, but it was 12 consecutive months, or any long-term forbearances that was 36 months cumulative, which means it doesn't kind of have to be back-to-back consecutive like the 12 months will have to be. So that can get you anywhere between 12 additional payments or even up to more than that. It can get you however many payment periods were under that forbearance period, as long as it's greater than 12 months consecutively or 36 months or more. That was one thing. They also said that they're counting any deferment periods, but I think it's deferment periods prior to 2013, and it's under like certain stipulations. So it just depends on where you believe you have been, how you've been doing, like in terms of your payments over the years. And even if you were in an instance where you were probably making payments on a plan that didn't qualify, I will get my form in to make sure that under that period, they're going to be able to count all of those. But even if they count all of those periods under the limited waiver and you're still not at 120, you'll still be relatively close. And so the goal is you're going to be working towards loan forgiveness. So as long as you just continue to make your payments and do whatever you need to do and get everything counted up, you should be good to go. And then once you hit that 120, it's going to go away. Because I told y'all, I have a YouTube subscriber, 165,000. Gone. She had to send me a praise report, and I had to interview her on my channel. Okay. If you have two parent loans through the same loan servicer, will I need to consolidate? So, user, again, my question to you is, are you eligible for public service loan forgiveness? Number one. If you are not eligible for public service loan forgiveness, then there is no need for you to consolidate. So if you're eligible for public service loan forgiveness and you've had loans of your own outside of the Parent Plus loans that you've taken out for your children, and you work for a qualifying employer, you know that you'll be able to at least get some type of periods that will count, then I will consolidate those Parent Plus loans into a direct loan, again, using the loan simulator to make sure that it's going to make sense before you do anything, and do the consolidation so that those balances can be eligible for forgiveness under public service loan after you've reached 120 qualified payments. If you just have the one, if you're not eligible for public service loan forgiveness and you just interested in the one-time debt relief, You don't have to consolidate for that. You don't have to consolidate. So please, please, please do not get these two confused. Do not get them confused. My daughter is in the military. Shout out to your daughter and thank your daughter so much for her service. I appreciate it. How long will it take to verify that she can complete? I'm not quite sure I understand your question. Let me see if I can reread this. My daughter's in the military. And how long will it take to verify that she can complete? She can complete what? Do you mind re-asking your question again, goddess? I apologize, but I'm not fully following what you're trying to ask. But please feel free to re-enter your question and I'll be sure to address it. I missed your chart breakdown. Can you go over it again? Yes, I'll go over it again real quick, but I do have a video that breaks this all the way down. But when it comes to the one-time debt relief, the defaulted loans will get paid first. Defaulted loans that are Department of Education held will get paid first. Then defaulted loans that are FFELP commercially held will get paid next. If there's any money left after that, your non-defaulted direct or FFEL loans that are managed by the Department of Education will get paid in order of highest interest rate. And then if you have some that have the same interest rate, they will apply it to the unsubsidized first and then the subsidized. And then if there's money left after that, then it'll go to the Perkins loan. But feel free to check out that video. It's 3 minutes. It'll definitely break it down. I want to challenge ITT. I want to challenge student loans that I have from ITT. ITT has already been identified, so they're on the list. So I would definitely reach out to either your loan servicer about that or submit. I don't think you have to submit an application because they've already determined it, but reach out to your loan servicer and tell them about it. And then worst comes to worst, go ahead and put in the application under Department of Education's website. Thanks for answering my question. You're so welcome. Is that a wig? Oh no, this is all me, baby. All me, all natural. All natural. I have missed you coming on live. No worries. You guys, I'm going to be doing this every Wednesday and Sunday. I'm dedicated to get this information to you guys because it's a lot. And I know that there's been like a lot of like misinformation and people that get, it can be very confusing because you're hearing one thing and then you're hearing another. And so my goal is just to try to give you the information straight from the source. So anytime I have a meeting or anytime I'm sitting in a meeting and I'm hearing something, I'm taking copious notes because I want to be able to bring it to you. And I also want to be able to encourage you as well. Encourage you as well. Do you need to consolidate if you have two perm loans? I think I just answered that. You have, oh man, I hate when it does it. It scroll down. I lose where I am when it scrolls down. So now I got to go back up. Where was I? Okay, ITT, I remember answering that. Okay, Rachel. Okay, thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. I shouldn't have to pay that back. All student loans I attended, ITT Sec loans should be forgiven. Yeah, so Ebony, you would need to go after the discharge. Go after the discharge. My job is not qualified for forgiveness, so will I get the other? As long as you meet the income criteria, yes. And you have a federal loan, yes. Student loans in default, I received a Pell grant. Should I make a payment for the debt relief to qualify? No, you don't have to make a payment at all. Nope, you don't have to make a payment, Jazz. But I do want to encourage you. I would like to encourage you to get your loans out of default. Can I share a quick story about this whole default situation? I had a client at one point, this was years ago, and we were working on like budgeting practices and so forth. And one of the stipulations that this particular client had was around their student loans being in default. And it was a touchy subject and it took us some time. But once we got to the point where my client began to feel comfortable with her finances and telling her money where to go and so forth, and we had a conversation, I said, hey, give your student loan people a call. Give them a call. And this was years ago. This was prior to all of this. This was years ago. Give your student loan people a call. And that was a part of her growth work, because I assign growth work. I give tasks to people who I work with. Because you can't grow unless you do the work. You can't grow unless you do the work. Okay. So my client went and called the student loan company while she was driving to work, and just explaining the situation. Because I go by this RICO method. It's a formula that I share on my YouTube channel about how to communicate with your creditors, even if you're not in the best standing. Communication is key. Communication can change the game for you if you allow it to do so. So she had the conversation. She called and explained the whole thing, said she wanted to get her loans out of default. They was asking questions. Okay, well, how much you do this? Because we were going over her numbers and she got comfortable with her numbers, she was able to spit out every single thing that she was paying, like by line, while driving. And the next thing you know, the representative on the other line said, well, based on everything you said, we can get your loans out of default. All you have to do is make a $5 payment every other week, and it has to come out of your payroll. And as long as it comes out of your payroll, after 10 of those, you'll be out of default. A simple conversation. My client was so shocked that she had to pull over. She had to pull over because she couldn't believe it. So even though it may seem daunting, or it may seem like I haven't been able to make any progress towards it, you can, and you don't know what a simple conversation can do for you. Share this out if somebody needs to hear it. Share this out if somebody else needs to hear this. You can get through this situation. Regardless, all it takes is a phone call. All it takes is a phone call, and you don't know how you're going to get blessed or who you're going to get blessed with on the other end of the line. So I want to encourage everybody when it comes to, your debt and your responsibilities, just make an effort. Make an effort. I can share my story all day, but this is not about me. This is not about me. Okay, sorry, just joining. How do you know if you're eligible for any forgiveness? Yeah, sure. So I can start with the one-time debt relief. One-time debt relief is you have to make less than $125,000 if you are married filing separately or if you are single, and then less than $250,000 if you are married filing jointly or head of household. If you meet the income criteria and you have federal loans, you could be eligible for up to either $20,000 of the one-time debt relief or $10,000 of the one-time debt relief. The amount would depend on if you were a Pell Grant recipient. If you were a Pell Grant recipient ever in your lifetime, then you will be eligible for up to $20,000 based on what your loan balances are. So it's up to. And then if you were not a Pell Grant recipient, then up to $10,000. I work for the state. Tracy, I think I just answered that question for you. Student loans in default, I receive. Okay. All right. I think I answered these. I recently consolidated my loans and switched to Mohila. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you consolidate it and Mohila has your account, or even if it's still processing, you can definitely turn in your PSLF paperwork. Definitely get that in before October 31st, for sure. And you don't have to wait. Let me just share this too. For those who have to consolidate, again, you don't have to, and you don't have to consolidate all of your loans. You don't have to consolidate them all. But for those who have to consolidate, even after you consolidate, even after you submit your consolidation application, you have to bear in mind that there's going to be processing time. And it can take anywhere up to 30, 45, maybe even longer to actually process the loan consolidation application. And once that loan consolidation application gets processed, if you wait, it could take you past the limited time waiver the limited time waiver deadline of October 31st. So what the Department of Education is encouraging everyone to know is that if you choose to consolidate, still get your form in. Because what's going to happen is, even if your loan consolidation has not processed and like it's not showing in the system yet, when you submit your public service loan forgiveness form, Mohila, which is the new loan servicer who's handling all public service loan forgiveness accounts. So those are for everyone who has applied for public service loan forgiveness or you submitted a recertification form. All of those accounts are being transferred to Mohila. So if you recently consolidated, then you submit your form, MOHELA is going to see that the consolidation application has been submitted. Even if you log into your FSA ID account, you're going to be able to see your application status. So it may say still in progress or in process or processing or whatever. So you'll be able to see that. And so if you can see that, then MOHELA can see that too, because the databases speak to one another. So they'll be able to see that too. And if they can see that, once they get your form, they're going to hold it. They're going to hold your PSLF form. Even though it's already in, it's dated before, it's signed and dated before the October 31st deadline. They're going to hold that form. And then once your consolidation happens, then you'll start seeing the counts and stuff get added on, or start showing at least. Okay, Kaplan University. I don't believe I saw Kaplan on the list. I know I didn't see South University on the list. But again, even though they may not be on the list now, that doesn't mean that you can't submit an application for borrower's defense. But you're going to have to show proof, because one of the requirements of the borrower's defense is that you have to show proof that they violated whatever it is that you're saying that they violated, because that's going to build their argument in their investigation. Our Nelnet account states that it will automatically process IRS info is linked to FAFSA. Exactly. Thank you, Jackie. That's what I was trying to tell y'all. The systems speak to each other. So Department of Education can get data from the IRS. They can get the data. So for those of you who may feel like, oh, well, I haven't filed, or I may have filed and I don't know which one they're going to use. They already have they already have access to the data, especially if you've submitted a FAFSA form recently. So if you had to submit a FAFSA for 2021 or for 2022, or for 2020, they're going to have that data, because when you submit your FAFSA, what do you have to do? You have to supply tax returns. Do you not? Do you not? I believe that you do. So if you have to submit copies of your tax returns, then they know what your line 1 is on your 1040. They know what your line 1 is on your 1040. So they'll be able to know how much you made. But yeah, they can pull it. And that's why when they announced the one-time relief, they said that they already have information for 8 million borrowers. They already have the income information that they need for 8 million borrowers. So really, technically and truthfully, you don't have to submit an application if you know that your income is already there. But the Department of Education is encouraging everybody to apply. If you know you have federal loans, and if you didn't already get your relief, some people said that they were getting their relief automatically already. But if that's not the case for you, when that application goes live, I will get it in. And they said to go ahead and submit it, because they don't want to leave anybody out. They don't want to leave anybody out. So, for sure. My school is on the list, but loan and default, do I need to? All right. So, I don't need to consolidate if I have 2 loans do the same. No, you don't. It just depends on the loan type. Depends on the loan type, and if you need to do so for public service loan forgiveness purposes. Loan is in default. So if you qualify for the one-time debt relief, Connie, if you qualify for the one-time debt relief, then you're going to be good to go, because they're going to apply your loan balance to the defaults first. They're going to apply your relief payment to the defaulted loans first. Jazz, you didn't answer my... Yes, I did. I answered this several times. Your school is on the list, but loan is in default. Do I need to do a payment plan to qualify? I said no. If you're doing a one-time debt relief, you don't have to do anything, because the defaulted loans will get addressed first. As long as you qualify, meaning you meet the income threshold, then you'll get the one-time relief. Okay. Just beautiful. Missed my question. No. Oh, I did say that. Southern University. I said it's not on the list. I don't remember seeing them. Can my son apply for forgiveness if he can be claimed as a dependent? That's a good question. So again, it's going to go by the income. It's going to go by the income. So if he's claimed as a dependent, then more than likely he may or may not have income coming in. So again, it's based on tax filing status. I received the Pell Grant for fall 2022. Am I eligible to receive the $20,000? So I believe you had to be a Pell Grant recipient prior to June 30th, 2022. So fall would start when? Isn't that now? Like August or something? So that's a good one. For you, I would just go ahead and apply once the application comes out and see what they give you. See what they give you. All right, T-Love. Thank you, T-Love. I appreciate it. I'm eligible even though I'm in public service forgiveness. Are you asking, Wilson, are you asking if you're eligible for both the relief and public service loan forgiveness? If that's your question, the answer would be yes, only if you meet the income criteria for public service loan. I'm sorry, if you meet the income criteria for the one-time debt relief. What if you never made a payment? If you never made a payment, you want to look at what your required payment was. So if you never made a payment and your loans aren't in default, then that means that your loans are your required repayment was probably $0. So even when it comes to that, that is still, and this is for public service loan forgiveness purposes, because I don't want you guys to get it confused. For public service loan forgiveness purposes, even if you never made a payment because your required payment was $0, that is still a qualified payment because you didn't have to pay anything. If you never made a payment because you were in a specific loan status, that could be a stipulation. However, under the limited waiver, they are saying that your repayment status or your repayment plan doesn't matter, but you cannot be in school status. So as long as you're not in school status, then those payment periods will count. But for the one-time debt relief, it doesn't matter. That's not applicable. What about 20 hours per week for work? So for public service loan forgiveness purposes, you have to be considered full-time. And full-time is 30 hours per week. For public service loan forgiveness purposes only, you got to at least be doing 30 hours a week. And they said that you don't have to do 30 hours per week with one qualifying employer. You can do 30 hours a week across multiple qualified employers for public service loan forgiveness purposes. So if you did 20 hours a week with one eligible employer, you could get another part-time employer or whatever to make up the other 10 hours. As long as you get 30 hours within that week, it'll count. And I think that's one of the things too where people are having stipulations around eligible versus ineligible payments, because some people are saying, oh, well, they're saying that my payments aren't eligible, and that's probably because you didn't work enough hours. So even if you made the payments, if you didn't work 20 hours a week for that employer, then those payment periods will not be eligible. It won't be eligible. I want to make sure that I'm saying that clearly. How can I remove student loan portion from time frame of attending ITT Tech? I'm not sure if I understand your question there, Ebony, but definitely go to the Borrower's Defense website, on studentaid.gov. What happens if you paid off your loan in 2021 and just now requested for a refund? So they do have a process for the refund piece, and I think it's only refunds for the periods in which you didn't have to pay but you did. But that's another conversation. I'll probably do another just topic just on that, because you can get refunded for overpayments, but you will have to go through your loan servicer for that. My school is on the list. Should I wait for the debt relief since I got a letter saying that I may plan. Jazz, I think your question cut off. My school is on the list. Should I wait for the debt relief since I got a letter saying that I may? Yeah. Whichever one you can get the fastest is what I would go for. Okay. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Can we do the one-time $10,000 debt relief and PSLF? I answered that. Yes, you can, as long as you qualify. Yes, indeed. As long as you qualify. Ooh. I tell you. I guess this thing keeps scrolling to the bottom. I guess it means it wants me to get to the bottom. But I don't want to miss anybody's questions. Ooh. Here we go. Okay. Can we do Can we do the one-time $10K forgiveness and PSLS? Yes, as long as you qualify. Yes, you can. They're completely independent of each other. They are completely independent of each other. Can you do both release if you don't have enough payments for PSLF? Yes. Yes, you can. You can still qualify for both as long as you meet the income criteria for the one-time debt relief. And I would still put my public service loan forgiveness forms in, even though you may not have enough payment periods that will count now. So you still want to get it in if you haven't done so yet. Parent Plus loan. My daughter works as a teacher. Will this apply to my Parent Plus loan? So again, when it comes to the forgiveness, it's based on the borrower. So not necessarily who you borrowed for. So you as the borrower would have to meet the requirements. So that's what I can say about that. Hello from Texas. All right, from Texas, stand up. Texas in the room. Sorry, but you said to reach out to the loans if the school is on the list. The loan servicer. Yeah, you can reach out to the loan servicer, or you can go to studentaid.gov/borrower's defense, or you could just log directly into your FSA ID account and select the options for the school discharge. You're gonna see a whole list of all of the discharge options that are available inside of your FSA ID account. So when you log in, you'll click on the manage account. You're going to see a full listing of all of the different types. You're going to see PSLF. You're going to see teacher forgiveness. You're going to see borrower's defense discharge. You're going to see them all. There's probably like 12 of them. And then you're going to click on the one that you need and then go from there. When applications come out, will we have to send in W-2s? So we won't know. I don't think that you will, but we don't know what they're going to ask for inside of the application. So again, I can't speak for that. So I'm going to be waiting just the same way that you guys are going to be waiting to see what they're going to require or what they're going to ask for. But I know that they're going to need to verify your income. So they may ask you to supply some support, but we won't know until the application goes live. I applied for PSLF before and was denied. Worked 10 years. Sybil. If you were denied before, if you applied before, now is the time to reapply. Sybil, I pray and I hope that you are still on this live stream right now and that you can hear my voice. Because if you have applied before and you were denied, you definitely want to do it again, especially under this limited time waiver process. So the first question that I'm going to ask you is, how long ago did you apply? Number one, how long ago did you apply? Just for the sake of my understanding, for me processing, because I'm a processor. For me understanding, how long ago did you apply? And then you want to look at resubmitting your forms under this limited time waiver process. So if you've already submitted a form, do it again. The Department of Education made it very clear on the very meeting that I was in with them this week. They said if you were previously denied, submit it again. Submit it again. Submit it again. Okay. Because this will be really good for you, Sybil, especially. I'm praying that this works out for you because you already have 10 years of service. So if you already had 10 years of service and it was from at least 2007 and beyond, and you just need the 120, if you get in under this limited waiver and you do your reapplications, all of these prior periods of deferment and forbearance and partial payments and all of that, it's going to count. So, please get it in again. How do you go after the discharge for those schools that was written off? What do you mean written off? User 621, let me know a little bit about what you mean by schools that were written off. Just retired from the Department of Corrections. Thank you for your service in December. Am I eligible for loan forgiveness? Absolutely. If you are retired, the limited waiver is about to be your best friend. So if you are retired, this is the time when you want to get your forms in. And I know you may say, well, how am I supposed to get my forms in? You need to reach out to your HR department at the Department of Corrections and fill out that form. Go to studentaid.gov/public service loan. I'm sorry, I keep saying the full acronym. I keep spelling out the full acronym. But PSLF, if you go to studentaid.gov/PSLF, you can log in to your account to utilize the PSLF help tool. The help tool will literally help you fill out the form. I will say this, if you're going to utilize the help tool, you're going to need the EIN to your employers, and that's all of your eligible employers. For you, Robin, I'm not sure how long you worked with this one agency or if you worked with multiple agencies, but if you worked for that same agency since at least 2007 and forward, you're going to be good because you don't have to you don't have to get multiple forms signed because you essentially worked for one qualified employer during that entire period since the PSLF program stood up. So again, only qualifying periods prior to 2007 will be able to count because October 1, 2007 was when PSLF became an official program. So they only count periods in employment up to that point. After that point, October 1st through now. October 1st, 2007 till now. Sorry, I'm late. No problem, Susan. What if my child consolidated her loans already in order to begin paying them? Again, as long as her underlying loans were dispersed prior to June or on or before June 30th, 2022, then she will be eligible for the one-time relief if she meets the income criteria. If she meets the income criteria. For public service loan forgiveness purposes, if she just consolidated her loans, again, she would have to be working for a qualified employer in order to be eligible for PSLF. But if she just consolidated, meaning she probably just got out of school not too long ago, then she doesn't have 10 years of service yet. So public service loan forgiveness won't be to her benefit right now, but the one-time debt relief possibly could. Thank you guys so much for the follows and the hearts and the roses. This is awesome. Can I drink a little bit of water? My voice is starting to crack. It's been almost 90 minutes. Okay. If you already have a loan already on an IDR plan, do you have to apply? So if you already have a loan, and this is for you, Dylan, if you are under public service loan forgiveness. So remember, public service loan forgiveness and the one-time debt relief, they're two separate things that are happening right now. So two different initiatives that are kind of pushing forward at the same time. So I don't want you to get confused. But if you know that you work for a qualified employer, meaning that you work for a government entity, whether it be federal, state, local, tribal, if you work for a 501c3, if you work for a private nonprofit organization that's tax exempt, and that covers one of the qualifying services that they mentioned on the website, then you know that you will be eligible for public service loan forgiveness. You will be considered under public service loan forgiveness. And what public service loan forgiveness allows you to do is if you have direct loans after 10 years of service, after 120 qualified payments, your balance is forgiven. your direct loan balances are forgiven under the public service loan forgiveness. Under the one-time debt relief, you don't have to consolidate. It doesn't matter what repayment plan you're on. It doesn't matter, if you're in default or not. The only thing that matters is if you meet the income criteria and that you have a federal loan and whether or not you were a Pell Grant recipient, because you being a Pell Grant recipient will determine how much of the relief you get. Thanks for answering my question about ITT. You're welcome. But everything I've read says I'm still responsible for repayment. That's interesting. What have you been reading? I'm gonna do some more research into that. And again, when it comes to the borrower's defense, it does say maybe. So it's not guaranteed. So it could be specific situations. It's just you never know. It depends on the period too, because the borrower's defense, it covers specific periods. So if you got ITT loans outside of that scope of the period where they're saying it's going to be discharged, then you probably still will be responsible. But I think there was another person who was on the TikTok lives, or maybe in one of the comments, they said the same thing about ITT, but they ended up getting a check back. So because of the settlement, they got a payment, and then they said that they will be getting a payment every month. It wasn't a lot, but the person was just surprised about that. Same thing with me. I got some money back from Navient that I wasn't expecting. Should loans be out of default before you apply for forgiveness? So user 621, this is a good question. So for public service loan forgiveness purposes, and this is if you qualify for public service loan forgiveness, you cannot be in default to get public service loan forgiveness. You have to bring your loans into good standing if you want to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. The only way to get your loans out of default for public service loan forgiveness purposes, not the one-time debt relief, for public service loan forgiveness purposes, you would have to either get a rehabilitation loan or you would have to consolidate. Those are the only two ways that you can get your loans out of default for public service loan forgiveness purposes. The minute you consolidate your loans, get it out of default, then you will be eligible for the public service loan forgiveness. For the one-time debt relief, it does not matter the status of your loan, the repayment plan of it. It doesn't matter if you're in default or not. The only thing, it doesn't even matter if you're still in school. The only thing that matters is your income. The only thing that matters is your income. Okay. I'm currently under processing Assist Inc. They put my parents' loan on default. I can't see. Will I qualify for loan forgiveness? Monica, potentially, you could potentially qualify for the one-time debt relief if you meet the income criteria. But for public service loan forgiveness purposes, if you are a public servant, what they qualify as being in public service, the only way that you will be able to be eligible for PSLF is if you consolidate or get into a rehabilitation loan. But again, for Parent Plus purposes, you would have to consolidate into a direct loan in order to be eligible for PSLF. I felt as if I was taken advantage of from the beginning, but would love to speak with you. I get it, Jazz. I get it completely. And I think your question was about borrower's defense, I believe. I got a pretty good memory, but I think you had a question about borrower's defense, Jazz. Okay, qualify for loan forgive. Okay, yeah, that was the part. Should loans be out of default if applying for the relief? Nope. I just answered that. The one-time debt relief doesn't matter. What if you were a Pell Grant recipient but just consolidated your loans? Yep, you'll be fine because it's based on the underlying loans that were consolidated. So even if you recently consolidated, it's not going to matter. It's not going to take the consolidation date. It's going to take the original disbursement of those loans that were consolidated. So if you know all of those loans were dispersed prior to June 30th or prior to July 1, which is essentially June 30th, 2022 and beyond, then it will still be qualifiable for the debt relief. Okay. What are the effective dates for the Pell Grant? As far as I know, it says at any time. But again, with questions, we'll see. They may change it. They may not. But as far as I know, it's from any time, at any point in time. What if you have $7,000 in loans and $13,000 in Parent Plus loans? Will they pay $20,000 to settle both? So this is an excellent question, brown skin girl. Hey, your skin just like pearls. Hey, sorry, I had to sing that song. But this is the example that I was sharing of exactly how it's going to be broken out. So in this example, if you have your own loans and you have the Parent Plus loan and you were a Pell Grant recipient, so that will get you to the point where you could receive the $20,000. If that's the case for you, then yes, your loans will be resolved because it will cover that full amount. Ouch. It will cover that full amount. It will cover that full amount. Where do we find the paperwork? So the paperwork for the one-time debt relief is not available yet. They said it will be standing up in early October. The best way to be notified is to log into your FSA ID account and update your profile so that way you can make sure that you have your most recent sale number, because you can get text message alerts. And then also make sure that you have your correct email address on file. And once you opt in to receive the message alerts, you'll be notified as soon as the application process opens up. And for public service loan forgiveness purposes, I shared that. I don't know if you qualify for public service loan forgiveness or not, but the paperwork for that, it will be also inside of your FSA ID account using the PSLF tool, or you can just Google PSLF form and it'll come right up. When can we begin filing? So as soon as the application comes up, which will be early October. What is PSLF? So PSLF is Public Service Loan Forgiveness. It is a specific program that is for those who have direct loans. And we know William D. Ford. So William D. Ford direct loan program. So this is a benefit for those. And you would have to be working for a qualified employer, which would be a government entity, federal, state, local, tribal, 501c3, or a private nonprofit organization that's tax exempt, covering one of those services. Can you give the site of the website? studentaid.gov/debt relief is one. The other one is studentaid.gov/PSLF. The other one, I think Borrower's Defense, is studentaid.gov/borrowers-defense. Everything will be found, honestly, just by the click of a link if you go into your FSA ID account. Okay, how do I know if I qualify? I think I just explained how you qualify. So trendy, I hope you caught that. All right, I just gave you guys an explanation of where to submit and how you can find out how soon you can submit. What if the consolidation is personal and not through MOHELA? Okay, Suzanne. So if you had a federal loan at one point in time and you decided to refinance your student loans into a private loan, which would mean, let's say, SoFi or credit union or any other major bank, unfortunately, the minute you refinanced to pay off that federal loan and have now moved it to a private loan, none of these things that I'm referring to will apply to you. So you will not be eligible for the one-time relief because you no longer have federal student loan debt because it was paid off by the refinance that you did. And you would no longer be eligible for the public service loan forgiveness if you worked in public service loan forgiveness because you don't have any federal loans. You don't have any federal loans. Okay. I've always worked for public service orgs, but I can't locate the EIN. So Danny, what you can do, if you have a copy of your W-2, and I don't know who you work for or what agency you work for, but if you're still working there, then more than likely you should be able to retrieve like your tax history. And I'm pretty sure like other places are different, but depending on who your payroll processor is, depending on where you work, you should be able to get their EIN. Another option you could do is to reach out to the HR office at that former employer or at that former office to ask them what their EIN is. One of the initiatives that they were saying inside of this meeting is that they're really encouraging, government agencies as well as the notices to nonprofit organizations to make it easier for the borrowers to be able to get the information that they need to fill out these public service loan forgiveness forms. So this is a real live initiative, and they're trying to do as much as they can to get people informed and make it as easy as possible to get what you need. But I would definitely, the first place that I would go is I would get my W-2s. I will pull up my W-2s. If you should still be able to have it. I don't know how long you keep your tax filing records, but I know me as a former tax auditor, I keep everything. I keep everything. So I have my W-2s from way back when. But you want to start there. And if you can't locate your W-2s, then reach out to the HR office. Okay, Trendy, you have NailNet. So Trendy, if you have NailNet, what did you ask me, Trendy? If you have NailNet, it could still be a federal loan, because I believe NailNet was and probably still is a loan servicer for the Department of Education. So, and that's Department of Education held loans. So if that is the case, then you want to check your FSA ID account to ensure that the loans that are in your NailNet account is being shown inside of your FSA ID account when you look at your loan summary and when you look at your loan details. Because your federal student aid account will tell you everything about what you owe. It will tell you everything about what you owe. The whole history is there. It should be there. And if it's not there, then you're going to have to go through a process to try to get it updated. But hopefully it'll still be there. Okay. Can they pull EINs from the IRS? So, Danny, this is a good question. And this is the thing. You could even request your wage transcripts from the IRS. The only thing is your wage transcripts, like when you request it, it won't show the full EIN because they're blanking out, some of the data. So even if you get that, it won't show you the full EIN, unfortunately, because they cascade it. And I think they only show like maybe the last 4 or 5 digits. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've actually looked at, it hadn't been that long ago, maybe about 7 months ago, I last looked at a wage transcript from the IRS, but it doesn't show the full EIN. So the only way that you will be able to see the full EIN is by looking at your W-2, because they have to give you that information in order for you to file your taxes. So, do you know about the lawsuit for borrower's defense? I got an email that my school, Carrington, was so if you got an email, then they may be on the way to settle. So if you got an email about that, then once the settlement is announced, like I think they just announced Westwood College. Westwood was the most recent one that was announced. $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion for anybody who went to Westwood College between April 2015 through, or was it before then? I think it was since their inception up until April 2015 or whenever they closed. 1.5 million, I believe. Or was it billion? One of them. Million or billion, one of them. But I know it's 1.5 for Westwood College. So if you got a notice, then that means something's going to be coming soon. Not to say that you're going to get all of the money, but you may get something. What if you never made 120 payments and your student loans was in default? Do you qualify for PSLF? So for public service loan forgiveness, unfortunately, if you're in default, no. The only way that you could get it to qualify for public service loan forgiveness is you'll have to get it out of default. If my loan went over to Mohila, I still have one payment. Will my last payment be forgiven? If your loan went over to Mohila, are you public service loan? Giovanni, sorry. Are you public service loan forgiveness? Because all public service loan forgiveness accounts transferred to Mohila. So if yours transferred over to them, then that's probably why. I still have one payment. Ooh, you only got one payment. Let's go, let's go, let's go. It could be. I guess it depends on whichever hits first. How do I get the application to fill out? I think I've explained that. It's not available yet for the one-time debt relief. Do you currently have to be making qualifying payments for the... No. When do we apply? I think I just explained that. You are amazingly intelligent. Oh, thank you with this vital information. Thanks for sharing. You are so welcome, Jackie. Thank you so much for being here and listening. I appreciate it. What's the name of the program for the specific qualifying schools? What's the name of the program for the specific qualifying schools? I'm not sure I understand your question there. I don't think I mentioned anything about qualifying schools. But if you're talking about borrower's defense, they list out the schools that were where the borrower's defense group has deemed that those claims will be processed. Thank you for what you do and the information. You're so welcome. You're so welcome, you all. Yes, sorry, you did. I wrote it a couple times. Okay, Jazz. Okay, Jazz. No problem, Jazz. All right. If we can apply for the one-time relief, I think, yes, when the application stands up, yes, you can. I'm so glad I came across your page. This is great information. You're so welcome. Thank you so much. So glad that you're here. Did you see mine? Queenie? Queen Connie? I don't think I did because I don't remember saying your name. Website to apply. Are they accepting applications? I just said not yet for the one-time debt relief. What's the name of the program I can apply for because my college was on the list? Oh, Borrower's Defense. Borrower's Defense, user 621. I need to be currently working to qualify for PSLF. Do I need to currently be working to qualify for PSLF? So it depends. It depends. So if you are someone who used to work for a qualified employer, but you no longer work there, you could potentially take advantage of the limited waiver if you know that you have been making qualified payments while you were working with that qualified employer, even though you're no longer working there. So potentially you could, but you do have to remember that if you don't have enough payment periods when you do the application for the 120 or for the limited waiver, once November 1st hits, they're going to go back to the regular stipulations. So if you put in your application, for the public service loan forgiveness, even if it takes them 6 months to get it processed, we don't know how long it's going to take. It's different for different folks. Even if it takes them 6 months to process your application, let's say, for instance, if they count all your stuff up and you're at 110 qualified payments, you're still going to be 10 payments short. And because you no longer work with that qualified employer, you have to realize that in order for you to get the 10 payments, you're going to have to go back and work for a qualified employer and then make those 10 payments while you're working for the qualified employer. Otherwise, you won't get the forgiveness for the public service loan forgiveness purposes. But if you're talking about the one-time debt relief, Queen Connie, if you're talking about the one-time debt relief and you're not working right now, or if you're currently not working for whoever, as long as you meet the income criteria, you should be good. As long as you meet the income criteria for 2020 or 2021, you'll be good. Went to school 22 years ago. And will life happen loans are 10K, been in default forever. So just Dev, if your loans are default and if you meet the income criteria, you can qualify for the 10K, you can qualify for the debt relief. And they will address the defaulted loans first. That's where the debt relief money is going to first. Defaulted and then non-defaulted and then Perkins. Okay, what's the name of the, okay. Where do you get the app? Where do you find a list of schools? First time here, well, welcome, A5 Stark. Welcome, you're here. So you can go to studentaid.gov. Let me give you the direct URL. How about that? Studentaid.gov. Just want to make sure that's it. Okay, so studentaid.gov/borrower. So BORROWER dash defense. DEFENSE. If you go there, it'll take you right to the borrower's defense loan discharge. Maybe I can just show y'all. And in that way, you can take a screenshot. Ooh, sorry. How do I flip? Okay, flip. Okay, can you all see this? If you go to studentaid.gov/borrower-defense, go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Take a screenshot of this. Take a screenshot. And it will take you right here to the application process. You can either download it. You can manage your applications. Tells you what you need to do to complete it. Tells you how long it'll take. Here we go. If you are a federal student loan borrower who attended a school that you believe misled you or engaged in other misconduct, or you can demonstrate that the school violated state law related to your loan or to the educational services provided, you need to complete the borrower's defense. What do you need to do? You need to verify your username and your password to your FSAID account. You need to know the name of the school and the program of study. You need to identify your enrollment dates, when you were enrolled in those schools. And you got to provide documentation to support why you believe you qualify for borrower's defense and to demonstrate financial harm to you if it's applicable. So if you want to know about the updates, it'll tell you exactly where to go. Here it is. You can see all of the findings. Everything is here for you guys. Read the ED findings for approved borrower's defense. American Career Institute, and I did a whole video on this, but I'm going to go through it anyway since y'all here live. Any Corinthians College, Court Reporting Institute, and you could go back and read through this and see the specific periods because you would have had to been going there during the period that they're covering. DeVry, I think somebody said DeVry. I had already showed you guys that DeVry was there. ITT, this was someone on the live stream talking about ITT. Here we go. Let's go ahead and read this one real quick. So the Borrower's Defense Group has completed a review of the evidence supplied to Department of Education related to ITT's misrepresentation about borrowers' employment and salary prospects if they enrolled at ITT. Go ahead and share this out and let people hear this and see this, please. Let them know. As well as the transferability of ITT's credits. The Bar's Defense Group has prepared a series of summaries of the evidence related to ITT. Together, these summaries form a common statement of facts that will be applied to the individual's adjudication of borrower's defense applications from ITT borrowers that are adjudicated pursuant to this code. Who is eligible? If you went to ITT between 2005 to 2016, they said that they found that ITT misrepresented the students of how much they could expect to earn and the jobs they could get after graduation. They also found that from January 2007 through October 2014, ITT misled students about their ability to transfer credits to other institutions. ITT also misled prospective students about the programmatic accreditation of its associate degrees in nursing program from July 2007 until its dissolution in 2016. ITT misled students by falsely claiming that its nursing school had or would soon get those credits, which played a crucial role in other students' ability to obtain nursing employment. So if you attended ITT during any of the above timeframes and relied on the promises of employment, you relied on the transferability of credits, you relied on the programmatic accreditation of the associate nursing program, you may be eligible for borrower's defense pursuant to the code But the loan discharge is not guaranteed. You guys see that? It's not guaranteed. But you need to apply. You need to apply. Okay? These are some of the other schools. These are some of the other ones. I think someone said something about University of Phoenix. I was going to say I didn't see University of Phoenix on here. And this is the most recent one, Westwood College, which I just shared. And I think this is the last one. Yeah, it is. So we just went through this and I just showed you all of the schools that have been currently found. And again, this is the website. Before I flip it, this takes you to the announcements. But let me go back. This is the shorter browser right there. So that way you can go right to it. Okay. How was that, guys? How was that? Was that helpful? Y'all, we are coming up on 2 hours. We coming up on 2 hours, y'all. Okay. I got my Perkins loan consolidated with my other loans, but why are they still billing me? So if you're still being billed, then, and this is another thing, because I think this came with folks who had FFELP, because even during the repayment pause, period, people who had FFEL loans and probably even Perkins loans still had to pay for whatever reason, more than likely because of however this, their stuff was set up. But if they're still billing you and you just consolidated, my question is, did you consolidate under a direct loan? Answer that for me if you consolidated under a direct loan. Because if you consolidated under a direct loan, then the payment terms for your direct loan should now be in effect. Okay. All right. Ooh. Okay, it just scrolled to the bottom, y'all. And I don't know. It said like 99 messages. So I know I can't go all the way back up for 99. I'll just start from the bottom and just kind of work my way until we get a little bit up. First time here, I applied for Pslf in February. Loans just got transferred to Mohila. Is that a good thing? Yes. So you are good. If you got your forms in and it transferred over to Mohila, you should be good to go. That means you qualify for public service loan forgiveness. So as long as you got your one form in and you have employment to cover all of the periods that you need, then you're good. I would just say monitor your account, monitor your FSA-ID account to just make sure that your accounts and stuff are going to be updated. Because now that MOHELA has it, they're going to be keeping track of your accounts, which will be reflected in your FSA-ID account as well. Angelica says, thank you so much. You're so welcome. My loans are with Navient, but they have been consolidated. So if your loans are with Navient, Kimmy, is it private or is it federal? If it's federal, then you are right, because Navient was a federal loan servicer, because that's where my loans were transferred over to Navient before I paid mine off. But loans are okay. This was very helpful. You're so welcome, Urban Flower. Thank you for being here. No problem, Miss Dixon. If you missed out, don't worry. We'll be back on Sunday. Be back on Sunday. I'm trying to help y'all get this together. Okie doke. All right. Okay. Where can I find this information? I think Everest was on there. Where can I find this information? I think I was just showing you guys where to find the borrower's defense stuff. Yep, University of Phoenix was not on the list, but they could be. So it doesn't mean that you can't apply and submit your case. That's what that's for. And again, I explain what you have to be able to show proof of for borrower's defense purposes. I applied, then consolidated, said I only have 3 qualifying payments. Been paying since 2007. So Lizzie, you got to give them some time to catch it up. So first thing is, if you recently consolidated, what did you consolidate into? How long ago did you do it? If you notice you've been paying since 2007 and you have 10 years, you need to ask what loan types did you have? So were you paying on a Perkins loan or paying on an FFEL loan? And that's why you consolidated? Because if that's the case, you got to give them time to process your form, because they have to roll all of those counts over. So you, Lizzie, I think you may be good if you know for a fact that you have been paying since 2007. You have 10 years of service with a qualified employer. They're saying that you only have 3 qualified payments. But if you just recently consolidated, your consolidation has to be, in effect, and then they got to count those payments. So just give it some time. Give it some time. Should you file for Pslf if it says your employer is ineligible? So Brandy, this is a good question, and I'll take this question as the last one, and then we'll go ahead and conclude for the night. But if you use the Pslf help tool, because that's one of the things that they encourage everyone to do if you're applying for public service loan forgiveness, and you see that your employer is not eligible, because when you put it in, it'll give you either a green box, or it'll give you a green check, or it'll give you a red mark that says ineligible. But if you know that your employer is one of those things that I've mentioned, if they are a government, whether it be federal, state, local, tribal organization, and more than likely, if you come across something where it's saying that it's ineligible, then more than likely it's on the 501c3 side, or it's on the nonprofit side. So if that's the case, you want to make sure that the employer who you're inputting in is one that is a 501c3. So you want to confirm that they actually have a 501c3 status that is by the IRS. You get the 501c3 letter. Or if it is an employer that is a private nonprofit, and it's tax exempt, and it has one of those services that we talked about. If that's the case, then you can still go ahead and complete it. Because what the database does, if you use the help tool, basically the Department of Education said that even though it may pop out as ineligible, it could just be that you're the first one that's putting in a PSLF application in the system. So when you put in that EIN and you're continuing to move forward, it's going to trigger their investigation team to do their part, to do the validation, to see if that particular employer that you're putting in is actually eligible. So then that way, if it comes back that it is, the next time around when somebody else come in and put their EIN in, or the next time around when you put the EIN in, it now should turn green because they would have done that validation. So they're saying just because it may pop up as ineligible, as long as you know for certain that it meets the criteria based on the instructions, still go ahead and submit the form. Still go ahead and submit the form. Whew, okay, you guys. All right, this was awesome. Oh, thank you, lovely day. Thank you for the compliment on my hat. All right, everybody. Woo, y'all are cranking in the questions. Okay, you guys. Yes, they just recently consolidated. I got it. Thank you so much. You're so welcome, Lizzie. Give us some time, Lizzie. I'm celebrating you. I'm ready. Look, Lizzie, before you go, you got to do this for me. Once your accounts update, once you get your update account, you got to come back and let me know. You got to come back and let me know that your loans have been forgiven. Will you do me the honor? Would you please, Lizzie? Do me that honor, because I want to celebrate you. I want to celebrate you. I want to celebrate everybody that gets their loans, their debt relief, or their loans forgiven under this period. So, amen. Amen. Okay, everybody. Loan forgiveness applies to loans disbursed before June 30. Okay. Mohila, I guess the companies can change. Yeah, so the loan services, the Department of Education can change loan services at any time, as long as it's still a federally managed loan and you didn't refinance it out into a private loan. It doesn't matter who the loan servicer is. It's just a matter of whether or not you're under the right, you have the right plans and types and all of that good stuff. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for all of the shares and the hearts and the likes and the follows. I appreciate it. Yes, plus loans count towards buy loan forgiveness. You should be on IDR, ICR. Okay. Okay, you guys. Oh, Kendra says, no, don't go. Kendra, it's been 2 hours. It's been 2 hours. I have been talking for 2 hours, y'all, but we're going to be back on Sunday. We will be back on Sunday. And I want to encourage you guys too, as a form of action, just try to do something. Like, take this information, go back and verify it, vet it, go back and go to the websites, view it for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. One thing for me as an auditor, I always trust but verify. And I always want to make sure that what I'm sharing or what I'm referring to, you can go back and vet. You can go back and check. Because I know that I'm not perfect. No one is perfect. People can make mistakes. People can misspeak all of the time. So I just want to encourage you that the information that I'm sharing here is designed to help you take a step. Because I know it can be so overwhelming and so convoluted. But if you take little by little baby steps, figure out what your next action should be based on what we covered. Do you need to consolidate or do you not? If you don't need to consolidate, then how many employer forms do you need to get in for public service loan forgiveness purposes? If you're focusing on the one-time debt relief, you really don't have to do nothing but do the application once it comes out, because the application is not available yet. But for my folks who are eligible for public service loan forgiveness, you want to identify what your action steps are and what you need to do next to make sure that you meet this deadline. We have 33 business days left to take advantage of the limited time waiver. And my job is to encourage you to take the necessary steps that you need, give you the information that you need that can help you alleviate any of the financial debt that you have and that can be taken advantage of under these benefits and these programs. Okay. All right. So what time Sunday? 8 p.m. So lives will be here on Wednesdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern time each night. I'm sorry, each of those nights. So each of those nights, 8 p.m. Eastern is the best time, I would say. Okay. Did someone ask if bank loans can be forgiven? You better know it. I think somebody did, but I think I'll answer this for you now before we go. If it's a private loan, unfortunately, no. It has to be a federal student loan for it to qualify for either the one-time debt relief or the PSLF, which is a public service loan forgiveness program. So private loans is not a part of this conversation. If they run out of money before the application is processed, what happens then? Who said that? Miss Blue? Mrs. Blue? Mrs. Blue? You just opened up a whole can of worms. You just opened up a whole can of worms, because there was a verbiage that I read. There was a verbiage that I read. As long as funding is available. So my encouragement to you when it comes to this one-time relief is that when that application comes forward, that you get yours in as soon as possible. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. So which is best, debt relief or PSLF? So honestly and truthfully, you have to look at it from what will give you the greatest advantage. So PSLF and one-time debt relief are completely independent of itself. So you can qualify for both as long as you meet the criteria for both. And when you think about what's best, you have to look at it from the debt relief is only giving you up to a certain amount. As opposed to the public service loan forgiveness, they are forgiving the entire balance. So once you meet the criteria for the 120, that whole balance is gone. That whole balance is gone. If it's $165,000, it's gone. If it's $435,000, it's gone. If it's $700,000, it's gone. I know it's probably not going to ever be that high, but public service loan forgiveness forgives the entire balance, whatever is remaining. Whatever is remaining. So, Discover is a private loan, so it doesn't qualify. That's correct. Discover does not qualify. That's private. All right. My daughter's loans are in my husband's name. Do we qualify? Janice, if you're talking about the one-time debt relief, so you probably have a parent plus loan, or your husband has a parent plus loan, as long as he meets the income criteria. And if you're married filing jointly, then that means you have to make less than $250,000. Or if you're married filing jointly, less than $250,000. If your income is under that threshold, then he could qualify for up to 10 if he was not a Pell Grant recipient. What if you are a daycare director? Again, it's not about what you do. For public service loan forgiveness, it's not about what you do. It's about who you work for. So you want to look at your employer. Is your daycare a 501c3? If it's not, then you don't qualify for public service loan forgiveness. But if you have met the income criteria for the one-time debt relief, then you can get the debt relief. Okay. 31 years in public service. Wow, thank you for your service. Said I'll have to consolidate. Is that true? So user 417, I promise this is my last question, y'all, because my voice is starting to crack. It's been over 2 hours. So 31 years, you want to look at what types of loans do you have? That's the first question. Do you have a Perkins loan? Do you have an FFEL loan? Do you have any other type of loan that's not a direct loan? That's what you need to ask yourself. Because if you've been in public service for that long and you had an FFEL loan, or if you had a Perkins loan, then yes, you will want to consolidate into a direct consolidation loan and still not lose any of those periods that you might have been paying for 31 years. Even if the payment was zero, you can still get those periods to count. And that will really help you during this limited waiver. So user 417, my encouragement to you will be to confirm what kind of loans you have. So if you spoke to Navient and they told you that you need to consolidate, and this is if you want to look into your loans or not, I would rather see what my account says as opposed to just taking it from somebody over the phone, even though they can see all of your data. But if you log into your FSA ID account, create an account, it won't take you long to do. You'll be able to see all of your details. You can view your loan summary. And when you view your loan summary, it'll take you to your options to be able to view your loan details. When you view your loan details, it will tell you the exact loan types that you have. If there is anything that says direct, then you should not have to consolidate. If there's any other thing that says federal Perkins loans, or if it says anything other than direct, then you know if it's a Perkins or FFEL loan, then it needs to be consolidated in order to qualify for the public service loan forgiveness. And that'll work definitely in your benefit. Whew. Sign up here for updates. Yes, thank you, Cook. Go into your FSA ID account, update your profile settings, and you can also opt in to get the notifications of when the alerts go out. All of this is on studentaid.gov's website. Go to studentaid.gov/debt relief, and you will be able to get all of those updates as it relates to the debt relief. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Ooh, Just Jen, you said you were denied twice. If you were denied, if they sent you a letter, they should have explained why. So take a second look at your letter to see why you were denied, and it should tell you exactly why you were denied. But if it was recently, I would do it again. Department of Education said do it again. Okay, thank you so much for taking your time and energy to help others. Thank you so much. You're so welcome, Sawyer. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all. Thank you all. So I'll remind you that our next live stream will be Sunday night. So feel free to save the date. As soon as this live stream ends, I'm going to create the next event. So you can see the next event. It'll show up in my profile for Sunday at 8 p.m. Make sure that you register, share it out, let other people know, because we're counting down and I just want to be able to help you guys out as much as possible. You all are so welcome. Thank you for your patience and your understanding. I know I might have missed a few questions because the thing kept scrolling down, but if you want, you could also use the Q&A feature on my page as well. I'll be responding to videos as soon as I can if you use the Q&A portion, but then you could always just come back here on the next live and we'll keep talking about it. So I want to remind you that your financial prosperity awaits you. Also, feel free to check out my YouTube channel, The Debt Demolisher. I go through demos and share a lot of information there. You could also get to my YouTube channel on my profile. The link is there, as well as my Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram and send me any questions that you may have in the DM. That just reminded me. I had got a question from somebody that I meant to answer. Gosh, I'm going to have to do it on the next one. So the next live stream, I'm going to answer those questions. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram and DM me, I'll take questions from the DM and make sure that they get addressed on Sunday. Okay. Is there a deadline to the student loan? So the only deadline is for the limited time waiver, and that's for public service loan forgiveness. And that deadline is October 31st, 2022. You have to at least get one PSLF form and one employer certification form in. You have to at least get that in by the deadline. But there's no deadline there is a deadline for the one-time debt relief. I think the application cuts off once it stands up because it's not available yet. But once it goes live, they'll be accepting applications until December 31st, 2023. And then after that, no more for the one-time debt relief. Okay, you guys, thank y'all so much for the likes, for the hearts, for the follows, and the shares. I appreciate you all, and I want to remind you that your financial prosperity awaits you, and so does your financial sanity. You already know what I'm going to tell you to do, and that's what? Get to work. All right, guys. See you guys on Sunday. Thanks so much for staying with me tonight.